What is up, guys? It's Chez and Aiden, and today we're going to be talking about how, there have been some trades this season, and we're going to talk about how change can be a good and bad thing, because there was a very recent change. I think you guys know the one we're talking about with Dion Phaneuf. As you can see, Aiden there's a Sens fan. He's got some good whole Sens memorabilia in the back there. But we'll touch on players like Dion Phaneuf. We'll talk about the Ryan Johansson trade. We'll just talk about how change can be kind of a good and a bad thing, because Aiden was just dying to talk about Dion there. But, so we'll start with him. We'll start with Dion, Aiden. Go ahead there. We'll see what.
Okay, so Tuesday, around middle of the day, Dion was traded to Ottawa for quite a few players both ways, and it kind of worked out for Toronto because they cleared up cap space for future reasons and whatever they want, and then Ottawa got a top four defenseman, which they were kind of looking for all season because Cowan wasn't getting the job done, and you can't just rely on one pairing. So Dion Phaneuf came in, and he's been with the team for 2 games now. He's only played Detroit and Colorado. He played pretty well in the first 2 games, other than allowing Zetterberg to pass by him and score that one goal. That was really
you could chalk that up to just being on a new team and
yeah. It's just his first. It was his first game, and he was just kind of getting used to playing in Ottawa.
Yeah,
and but other than that, he's played pretty good. He's definitely improving his game, I think, and he seems to like it in Ottawa a lot. He likes the fans, and he knows the building too because he played there a lot in Toronto. So he knows the fans and he understands how the game works there.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
So I think this trade's gonna work well for Ottawa. I'm not sure how far they can go with Dion, or how this is gonna improve them as they make their playoff push, because they're kind of on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
I think definitely in terms of the change, I think, who was it? Lou Lamoriello said Dion's ready to win now, and the Leafs aren't ready to win now, so I think that change of scenery definitely helps them a lot. I think definitely being on a more improved team. And, the scenery for the other players too, maybe Cowan can get a second chance. I mean,
yeah, and Greening. And Colin Greening, he was playing for the Binghamton Senators for most of last year and all of this year. So, it's kind of good for him, too, because now he gets to play with the Maple Leafs, because he was just in the lineup last night.
Mm-hmm.
But he could get a spot in, the third or fourth line down there. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good second chance for a lot of players, and the trade made sense, definitely. So, do you want to move on to the next grouping we have here, Aiden?
Sure, I'm good with that, yeah.
Alrighty, so we're going to move on to Steve Mason and Sergei Bobrovsky trade. So this one piqued my interest because I'm an Islander fan, but I don't hate Philadelphia necessarily, and I don't really hate Columbus necessarily, even though they're in the same division as me. So I've always, I didn't really hate these teams. I thought they were kind of good. As you can see here, their numbers. Steve Mason, this is the reason it worked out for both teams. Steve Mason's numbers with the Columbus Blue Jackets, he didn't really get above .9, his save percentage. It came close, but after that trade, he started becoming a lot more consistent, and in my opinion, a pretty underrated goaltender. I think he's definitely a really solid goaltender. What are your thoughts on Steve Mason, Aiden?
He's really consistent in Philadelphia. Even though the team isn't one of the top teams in the league, he can definitely steal some games for them when they have him in nets.
Yeah, that's worth saying. The team's not I think, what are they? They're on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Aren't they? They're close to a playoff spot, though.
Same thing as Ottawa right now. They've got good offense, and they've got okay goaltending, consistent goaltending, but it's just their defense that's their problem right now. Because if you look at Philadelphia's defense, they don't really have any standout defensemen down there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Sergei Bobrovsky, same thing with him. His numbers in Philadelphia, he couldn't crack .9, but goes to Columbus, wins the Vezina, And Steve Mason did win the Calder with Columbus.
Yeah.
But, it's his consistency, as you can see, dropped. He did pass .9, sorry. It was 916 right there. So, yeah, he did pass 900. That was only one season, though, and as you can see, kind of dropped off a little bit, but then picking it back up with Philadelphia, I feel, was
Yeah.
definitely great.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning, they weren't directly traded for each other, which was, I just wanted to make that, because I accidentally might have misworded it. As you can see, the trades right there on HockeyDB, what they're actually traded for, just a year apart too. So they really just, basically switched teams. Is that
Yeah.
everything on them, Aiden?
Yeah, I think so.
And the last one we have in terms of change of scenery, Seth Jones and Ryan Johansson, as you can see here. So this trade is the second most recent trade because the Bobrovsky and Mason trade happened a few years ago. Dion was just the other day. But these guys were just earlier this year. And what are your thoughts on Ryan Johansson, Aiden?
He definitely was playing okay in Columbus. Like, he was having a pretty good season down there. He just didn't, like, I feel like him and Tortorella didn't get along. But, like, so he kind of, he signed that contract extension, and then he thought he was going to stay in Columbus then, and then they traded him to Nashville, and that has seemed to work out pretty well for him because he's playing top-line center down there, even though that's what he was doing in Columbus as well.
Right.
But he's definitely scoring a lot more in Nashville than he was in Columbus.
Yeah.
And Nashville's a better team than Columbus, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, better in winning and everything.
Definitely. So, here's what I get from this. There's 2 or 3 key points here. The first one, Ryan Johansson is kind of arrogant. And, like, he's 23 years old. You can look at his Twitter. I might throw up some tweets in editing here. But he was just a young player. He still is. He's only 23 years old, as you can see, drafted 2010, 4th overall, very highly drafted. So I don't think he really got along there, especially with Aiden said John Tortorella, and they just fired their head coach to bring in John Tortorella, so they're not going to fire Tortorella and bring in a new head coach, because that's just like, they had to give up a draft pick to Vancouver, I'm pretty sure, for hiring Tortorella, so they got rid of Johansson, which, I mean, it sucks. He was a pretty, I'm sure he'll do, in the next few years here, he'll become much better. He's going to improve a lot. And as you can see his numbers here, he definitely got better with the trade. As you can see his numbers there, in 14 games, 15 points. And with Columbus, in 38 games, he had 26 points, and he was a -4. On Nashville, he's actually a plus. And Nashville needed a first-line center. I think they had...
Their top center was, like, Mike Fisher before.
Mike Fisher, and there was, like, Ribeiro, who I think... He's a center, isn't he?
Who is it? Mike Ribeiro? Yeah, he's the center.
Yeah, they were, like, doing them as, like, their top centers, and they're not. Ryan Johansson could be their top center. They're not top center. And in terms of Seth Jones, as you can see him, another 4th overall pick, 2013. Definitely, I'd say, a very good defensive player. I don't think this trade is as good for Columbus, because Columbus is kind of dumb. Like, they get, like, if you look at, there's something on Twitter, it was, like, their team in 2011, where they had, like, all these great players. They had, like, Carter at one point, they had Nash at one point, they had Mathot at one point, and they just, they kind of got Foligno from Mathot, which is, was good for them now, but they didn't really get a lot of things, bad. They weren't really smart trades. They didn't keep they didn't draft smart, is what it was. They drafted smart, but then they didn't keep
They didn't
players.
protect their draft players.
They didn't. They just, like, traded them. So as you can see, his numbers there, he's not doing bad in Columbus. He hasn't got a goal, it looks like. He's got 8 assists, though, which is not bad. He's actually a plus for Columbus, so he's on that team. He's definitely probably the diamond in the rough, I would say, in that team.
He's probably playing on the top defensive pairing down there, isn't he?
Definitely, I would assume so. And he's only 21 years old, so he's definitely
their top defenseman before him was, like, Jack Johnson. He's not even that really.
And I think what's his name, Ryan Murray there. He's a defenseman, isn't he?
Yeah, he just got re-signed.
He's a younger one too, isn't he?
Yeah.
So basically, point of this video: change is a good thing. A lot of these players, with the change came a lot of great things. With some, there's a lot of examples where change wasn't such a good thing. Like, you could think back to the Alexei Yashin trade to the Islanders. I mean, he had like a 40-goal season or something, and then he only came up to, like, high 20-goal seasons after that. He was never as good after the trade. But there are, again, personal issues with him. Same with Johansson. But, for the most part, just showing how changes can be really interesting in the hockey world, and how change can be a good thing. So I think that about wraps up, right, Aiden?
I just wanted to talk about Phil Kessel really quickly, more
Yep.
recently. Just like how his change was kind of bad,
Mm-hmm.
like in the sense that he came to Pittsburgh, everyone thought he was going to be like a top goal scorer with Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not even playing on Crosby's line anymore.
Definitely.
So that just shows that not every change can be good. Like a trade can, you think you're going to a top team, you're going to improve. Like that's not always the case.
That's true. I'm pulling up Phil Kessel's numbers right here. As you can see, he did much better in Toronto. Surprising, because I mean, Toronto doesn't have Sidney Crosby, doesn't have Malkin, you know. So very valid points there. Aiden.
Like Pittsburgh's got all those top scoring stars over there, so like you think he just adapt to that game, which he did.
Right. Right. Definitely. Very interesting case. Good. Worth mentioning there. There's a trade for him too. So, good there, Aiden?
Yeah, that's good.
Alrighty. So there's the stats there, and see you guys in the next video. As Haydog would say, have a good old jolly day.